Most people don't miss out on real estate, they just show up unprepared. In my first video, I told you that we would talk about getting ready to be ready to look at real estate. And here is where we're going to break down how that happens. And I don't care what TikTok told you, I'm going to tell you what really happens in the real world. So there are 4 things that really determine whether or not you can buy a piece of real estate and ultimately what kind of real estate you can buy. There is your credit, which is a big deal. I think everybody knows that. There is your income, which is also a big deal. Everybody knows that too. I'm going to teach you some hacks on that one. There is debt and there is cash. All right, let's talk about credit first. So no matter what, you're going to have something of a track record. And that's what a credit score is. It's really just like a resume. Actually, the first credit scores were actually just gossip. They literally were people writing back and forth, businesses writing back and forth, telling each other what they knew about the reputation of someone. And that actually is how a credit score still gets handled. It's your track record, how you have handled your finances in the past. And so a bank is going to want to take a look at your track record. So minimum credit scores, there are ways to buy real estate with a credit score as low as 580. 620 is better. 680 is even better than that. And of course, going up from there, it just gets easier and easier. Your credit score is made up of several components. Your debt to income ratio, that's a big one. Your late payment or lack of late payment, your history, how you have paid your bills in the past, that's a very big deal. That one is one of the bigger components in what makes up your credit. Having a short history or a longer history, that's a big deal. Whether or not you have a history, that can kill your credit score. All of those things get taken into account, and they are gathered together and they are put together by several credit reporting bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, and they make up what is called your credit score. So before you even think about applying for a mortgage, you have to know what your credit score is, and we will talk about each of those factors more in depth going forward. I'm not going to be the one to take you on the super deep dives on how to fix your credit or develop your credit. There's excellent people out there that do it, and I will link you eventually to some of the best ones. But we will talk about it, especially how it affects your ability to get a mortgage. Even collections need to be addressed. You don't necessarily have to fix them all, but you do have to be willing to explain them. So your credit score is just about at the top of the list when it comes to your ability to get a mortgage or financing or what have you, when it comes to buying a piece of real estate. Okay, the next thing we are going to talk about is your debt. More specifically, we're going to talk about your debt to income ratio. Basically, what that means is any lender is going to take a look at the amount of your income that somebody already has a claim on, right? So they're going to take a look at your total income and they're going to verify your income based on your bank statements, based on your tax returns, based on your pay stubs. And they're going to want to see a history. So that's something that we will also discuss coming up. So they will take a look at that, and they will also take a look at car payments, mortgages that you may already have, credit cards, student loans. All of those things are added up, and then they will do the math and they will figure out what percentage of your income is already spoken for. So what they really want to see is a debt to income of less than 36%. Sometimes, depending on the loan program, you can get away with as much as 45%, but your mortgage is going to be calculated into that. So the less debt that you have, the better. Eventually, you're going to hear the term good debt versus bad debt, and we'll also define that. Basically, what you want to do is have as little revolving debt or credit card debt as possible. You also want to make sure that you're not overburdened with long-term consumer debt, such as student loans or car payments. Car payments are worse. Student loans, we can deal with that. But the less debt you have, the better. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So your debt to income ratio is a very big deal. All right, let's talk about your income. Pretty much, no matter what, you're going to have to show 2 years of steady income. There are a few exceptions to that, but that's pretty much just how the cookie crumbles. When I say a few exceptions, and you're going to have to kind of make a solid argument with this, you can show that you have gone from being a full-time student to a full-time employee. That's difficult, but you can kind of make the argument. You're going to have to bring some more cash to the table, and you're going to have to show up with a good credit score if you do that. You can show that you have transitioned from a stay-at-home parent, or that you have had a medical leave of absence, but you're also going to have to show that you have previously been in the field and you're coming back or returning. But for the most part, generally, you are going to have to show that you have a solid, continuous work history. How do you do that? Well, you're going to show up with your tax returns. You're going to show up with bank statements. You're going to show up with W-2s, with your pay stubs, and you're going to say, here is proof that I have a solid, dependable history of having stable income. That's just the way it is. There is a trick. Once you have a little bit of a track record, there is something called a DSCR. There is also private money. There is also hard money, and we will eventually talk about all of those, but you're not ready to go down that lane yet. So for right now, you need to be thinking about, how do I prove that I am stable and that I have 2 years of income history? That's my puppy. He's about to get loud. Okay, let's talk about cash. And this is where I am going to take a contrarian position, and people are going to come at me because it is so much easier to believe what everybody is going to tell you. Everybody's going to tell you to chase the no money down deals. They're out there. It's like finding a unicorn. People will sell you very expensive courses, and they will make a lot of money while teaching you how to go after the no money down deals. They are very rare, and assuming a mortgage is something that everybody's going to try to sell you a course on how to do. I have been doing taxes for 10 years, and about 2 weeks ago, I saw my first assumed mortgage. I've been dealing and buying real estate for 12 years. I personally have done 2 owner carry deals. Neither one of them was no money down. I have never done a no money down deal. I have been in and around real estate for a very long time. I have only seen and or heard of one no money down deal that was not between relatives. So that's the reality. They are out there, but they are incredibly hard to find. And it's like running after not only a unicorn, but a pink, sparkly unicorn with wings, okay? In the amount of time and effort that you're going to spend chasing no money down or owner carry and lease options when they're not already being offered to you, you would be much better served by putting that time and effort into bringing in more income, into improving your credit score, into working on all the other elements of what it takes to actually buy a property, right? So I hate to burst your bubble, but those are the hardest ways to go about it, even though it is given to you as being cheap, free, and easy. It is almost impossible. It is incredibly rare, and it is very difficult. And there are very, very wealthy people who have not made their money in real estate. They have made their money in selling courses to people who want to follow that dream. I had that dream for a very long time, and I didn't chase it. Long story. You'll eventually get all the stories. But I have learned over the past decade plus that just from doing multiple real estate deals over a decade plus, that cash simply has to happen. Okay, now with that said, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I'll never be able to save 20% to get a mortgage. Here's the good news. There are many, many ways to buy property, all right? A lot of people will tell you you have to have 20% down. You don't, especially if it's your first property. I eventually will be here to tell you how to do what's called house hacking. That was my personal introduction to real estate. Not only that, I house hacked a 4-unit apartment building with my family. I have done live-in flips, although at the end of the flip, I don't sell. There are USDA notes. There are FHA. There are now 5% Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, conventional mortgages. There are a million ways of buying property that are not 20% down, right? They're also not no money down. You do have to show up with some money, but we're not talking crazy amounts of money. We're talking about the amount of money that you reasonably could put together running a hardcore side gig and doing a side hustle for 6 months to a year, right? I've done it. And my sons have done it. I've got a daughter working on doing it now. So they are all well below the age of 40, which is the average age of the current home buyer in America for a first-time home buyer. I had one son buy his first home at 22. I had another that bought his first home at 23. And we're not the kind of people that buy big extravagant houses. We're the kind of people who are willing to buy the smelly houses, and we're the ones that are willing to live in the houses while we fix them up. We're the ones that are willing to live in the apartment building with the crazy people around us while we put the work in to force equity. We talked about forcing equity. While we're forcing equity to look for the longer term payoff, right? So basically, in a nutshell, there are a lot of myths in the world of real estate, and I'm kind of here to bust a lot of them, all right? So we need to talk about your credit score. We need to talk about your debt to income ratio. We need to talk about cash, and we need to talk about all of the things that it takes to get a mortgage, most of which are not the things that you think they are. I left income out of my little summary a second ago. So income, okay? So we talked about credit, debt to income, and cash. There we go. So you don't have to be an expert in all of those things, but you do have to have a basic understanding of them. And finally, you need to kind of start thinking about which path you want to take in order to get into real estate. A lot of people start by shopping Zillow. Don't do that. Instead, start with those 4 fundamental things, and we're going to talk about what they are, how to address them, and what it's going to take to get the be ready part together. So when the property comes along, you will be ready, right? So you have to do this part well before you ever approach the marketplace. And when you've got that down pat, when it finally is time to hit the MLS, you'll have all your little ducks in a row, and it makes things so much easier, right? So coming up, we will begin to talk about each of those 4 little pillars in order, and we'll do much more of a deep dive. So I think the next up in our little discussion is going to be about credit, more in detail, and we will talk about how to break down a credit score, how to read a credit score so that you'll understand yours, how to build your credit score up as much as possible, how to fix some mistakes if you've got some on there. I will reference you to some of the better resources that are out there, much better experts than me. And we'll talk about what goes into making yours as strong as it can be so that you're ready when the time comes, right? Eventually we'll get to the other stuff, but we're going to start with that one because that's the driving factor. And I'll tell you this right now, if you are interested in buying a property anytime coming up, don't go buying a car, don't open a new credit card, don't go into any new kind of debt, right? Keep your head down, pay your stuff on time. That's going to do more for you than just about anything else, right? And we'll come to the credit score stuff with the next video. All right. You're going to do fine. You've got this. And I'm going to show you how, right? I'll see you next time.